Incarceration isn't always the most effective answer for some drug-related offenses. Often, diversion programs are more appropriate. These programs emphasize counseling, treatment, and behavior modification over punitive measures. Allan Culver, Carroll County State's Attorney, joins us today to explain the role the State's Attorney plays in the opioid epidemic. Allan, first of all, I'm really glad that you're here. We obviously work together, and quite honestly, you're my boss, so this is probably one of my tougher interviews to do. But one of the things that I feel like that I know a lot of the community doesn't understand exactly what's the role of the State's Attorney?
Well, Tim, first of all, I'm happy to be here. The role of the State's Attorney's Office is a portion of the role of the criminal justice system. So we often work with the courts, with the Public Defender's Office, with defense attorneys, parole and probation, to get folks into treatment when we believe it's appropriate. And kind of like you said in your intro, there's various ways we can do that. There's drug treatment court. That's a program run by the court that we participate in. There's diversion programs. We have our early intervention program, which was a diversion program that was started in our office. And then sometimes when folks commit crimes and they get arrested and they're incarcerated, we can get them into treatment while they still remain in custody of the detention center. So what we like to try and help do is facilitate treatment for those who are in crisis and need treatment.
Obviously, the opioid epidemic has really just taken off with the rise of fentanyl, the number of overdoses we have in our county, based on just the number of people we have in our county is high. Have you noticed through the years that the change from prosecuting people to actually helping put them in treatment? I know we have the diversion programs, but is the mindset of just the prosecutors in your office, do they start to see that maybe this is the way to go, treatment over certain times?
Certainly. I think it goes beyond the State's Attorney's Office. I think there's more of an idea in the community as well, that people are coming to the realization that addiction is a disease. And the way to treat addiction is to offer people treatment. The role of the prosecutor simultaneously has changed. It's changed in a lot of ways. We're out in the community a lot more. We're trying to educate folks. We're trying to get involved in prevention to get people to realize, hey, these are some of the things you can do to avoid criminal behavior. So we're trying to get in front of crime before it actually occurs. But these days, we also have the advantage of a lot more options for treatment. 10 years ago, we were talking about it. There were folks who would spend a longer time in the detention center who might be appropriate for a treatment program, and we didn't have a lot of beds available. And it seems like over the last 5-10 years, there's a lot more options for people to get the help they need.
Yeah, one thing I definitely have noticed in Carroll County especially, the collaboration between our office, the local jurisdiction sheriff's office, the local police, and the health department, everybody just really works together to not only get out prevention and some of the stuff that our office does in the school, but just help try to navigate people to treatment. It's unlike anything that a lot of people have seen when we travel around to different places and we talk about it. I'm sure you've seen it as well. People are really amazed at the collaboration we have to help.
Absolutely. I mean, part of that is being a smaller county. It's easier for the offices to work together. But it's also that everybody is kind of the same mindset. We're trying to help each other. We're trying to work together. What's in the best interest of the community? I really feel whether it's the health department, whether it's the sheriff's office, the court system, everybody's got that same idea, what's in the best interest of the community. And so a lot of times what's in the best interest of the community is getting folks into treatment.
Would you say over your 20-year career at the state's attorney's office, you've really noticed, how have you noticed the impact on the quality of life for Carroll Countyans as a result of the opioid epidemic? Just, how it's really affected the community as a whole. Because you've been here from the heroin epidemic in the 90s through what we're going through now.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a situation where the opioid epidemic is much worse now than it was when I started. But I think it's the way the community looks at it has changed. It's more of a front burner issue for the community. Mm-hmm. Rather than when I started, it was more of a back burner thing. It was not something people talked about as much. It was more of a situation where I don't think people realized that, hey, addiction can affect everybody, no matter what your background is, no matter how much school you went to. It knows no boundaries. It used to be where, addiction was thought of, homeless folks living in the corner, and I think that's the way the general public looked at it, is that, those folks are addicts. But now you realize that, your next door neighbor, your relative, could be someone struggling from addiction. So I think we've come a long way in terms of reducing the stigma of addiction, and by doing that, it's made people more willing to accept the idea that folks need treatment and they're willing to help out.
Yeah. And we really, I know in our office, take a real direct approach in trying to help get people from an overdose into treatment. Going as far as to keeping an eye on the overdose list that comes in from law enforcement, and then approaching the prosecutor that maybe is handling a bail review or an upcoming case just to fill them in. That's something that's probably different than a lot of other counties do, I would assume.
And you would know that better than I would. You're more hands-on in that area, but I think, as you've said, somebody who's overdosed, obviously that's a critical time to try and offer them treatment. And so some of the ways we offer them treatment, you've been out to the hospital has peers, the health department reaches out to people, so everyone's providing resources to folks during that critical time. Sometimes they're not there yet. They don't want the treatment. And sometimes that's where the criminal justice system can be an advantage to somebody who they may commit a crime, and the best thing to do is use it as an opportunity to get them into treatment.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy way to make someone uncomfortable enough to actually get the help. Well, I really appreciate you coming out, taking the time, and spending some time just to share with me, even though you have to talk to me all day, every day, it seems like.
I'm happy to do it, Tim, but just keep in mind that this will be reflected in your evaluation.
Okay. As we have heard, counseling or treatment rather than punishment can often help individuals struggling with substance use disorders get on the road to recovery.